and the car would not handle as they wanted. And all he's looking forward to now is the new car coming up for 1998, being designed by John Travis. Well, the drivers obviously busy this weekend in the cars, but they've also been busy doing other bits and pieces outside the cars. We're taking a look at some of the events they've been doing this weekend. This was a karting event that was happening just earlier in the week, the Malibu Speed Zone, when everybody had a chance to race against each other. And it was pretty much like it normally is, a bit of bumping and boring, and a few of the guys having fun. They also had a hole-in-one competition. You can see it wasn't exactly classic California weather, though, here on Thursday. PJ Jones didn't quite get the hole-in-one, but he did get nearest the pin. So PJ Jones was the winner of the golf competition. As you can see, though, the rain mats were in order on Thursday. There was another competition yesterday where all the pole winners of the year got a key to a Mercedes. If it fitted the Mercedes became theirs. And Brian Herter's key was the one that fitted, and so he therefore won the Mercedes. So he was delighted by that, and he had a great day here on Saturday. Let's hope he can do well here today. There he is on track now, not in his Mercedes, but in his Ford Cosworth-powered Reynard.
And another win coming up for the Herters. Hopefully his wife Jeanette is back home in Ohio, expecting a baby in 12 days' time. I saw Jeanette's mum this morning walking around the paddock area. She's nervous not just for the race this afternoon, but also for her daughter. So best wishes to the Herters for that.
So Brian at the moment lies in third place. Gugelmin is still our race leader from Jimmy Vasser, and 17 laps have been completed. It's all calm down there on the track at the moment as Maurizio Gugelmin leads the field around. But meanwhile, we've got a chance to catch up with some of the stories, and Guy has caught up with Carl Hogan in the pit lane.
Well, you mentioned the stories, Ben, because the biggest one of the weekend, Dario Franchitti. I'm with Carl Hogan, and luckily I've known Carl for about 20-odd years now, so I'm sure he's going to tell me the truth of the whole thing. Carl, a little bit of the story of Dario and the situation, what brought Robbie in.
Well, actually, found out that Dario had signed with another team, and I didn't really feel there was much purpose in running them here. It would be sort of a waste of all of our time. So I brought Robbie in here, and hopefully, you know, we'll do well this weekend. Hopefully, we're looking forward to working together next year. So this is sort of an important weekend for us, and we didn't want to let it go by and then spend all winter wondering about things. So we got Robbie, see how he goes with the crew, how he goes with me, and so far we've had a good weekend. It's worked very well, and we just want to be patient out there, and we think we'll have a good result.
He had a great run. He went out late in the first session and managed to get fourth quickest. A little bit of controversy there, though, 2 in the morning with Robbie and yourself, I believe.
Well, let's just say that I like to have things very clear before we do things, and we were just making sure everybody was on the same page.
All right, Carl, we won't push you too far, but thank you very much for the time in the interview. And, of course, Robbie having a good run right now in that Mercedes Reynard with the Firestone for the Hogan Racing.
Thanks, Guy. Yes, referring to, there was a little bit of heated discussion going on, as it was reported, between Carl and Robbie at some point on Friday morning, but obviously they got things calmed down. Both Carl and Robbie are fairly straight and fairly sharp in what they want about things, and obviously that just took a little time to settle in the relationship, but I think it is settling in. Speaking to Alan Langridge earlier on, he seemed fairly happy with the feedback they've been getting from Robbie this weekend. And Robbie Gordon's been competing on the NASCAR scene this year. In fact, he's the only driver of this field to have actually raced on this track already, because this track was opened up with the NASCARs.
Actually, the IROC race as well that weekend, so but Alanza Jr., Jimmy Vasser and Alex Zanardi were all here for that event, so a couple of them with a little bit of a head start, but you know, driving a 3,500-pound stock car around this place is a little bit different to a 1,500-pound Indy car. Very different indeed, and it really bears no relevance whatsoever, I think.
No, that's right. It's such a subtle art driving the Indy car around at 240 mile an hour here. The tiniest movements on the steering wheel to get the response from the car, and it's all about tuning the car on the wings and settings to try and run the track completely flat out. They are running it with a foot hard on the throttle all the way round, which may sound easy, but it is not easy, I can tell you, because what they're trying to do is to reduce the downforce on the car until the car will only just go around those corners flat, and that really takes some great bravery from the drivers.
An intense concentration as well, and you have to turn into the corner absolutely precise. If you turn in too late, you're going to have a problem at those sort of speeds. You know, we've had, what, 20 laps in the books now for Maurizio Gugelmin, so in actual fact he was the 6th most laps led coming into this race with 146. He's now led 3rd most laps during the season, in actual fact. Alex Zanardi has led most laps, 338. Paul Tracy only 2 behind him, actually, 336. He won't lead any more than 90 of those 2 laps, of course, will be this afternoon. Michael Andretti was third on 161, De Feren 156, Vassar 151, and Gugelmin 146. So Gugelmin's moved ahead of that little train as well. So that's pretty tight. It shows how competitive this series has been this year. It's been awfully close at every single race, really.
We just saw Arndt Meyer, the German rookie, coming into the pits there, and again taking advantage of the opportunity just to top up the fuel and to try and reduce the number of pit stops to be made later on in the race. And we've seen one or two cars doing that throughout this yellow flag period, but the leaders at the moment have stayed out there, prepared to just try and run it through to the first stop. We've only had about 3 laps of actual green flag, and they should be able to run under racing conditions. They'd run about 37 laps until they need to come into the pits. Of course, that calculation now rather changed by running around at these slower speeds, but there should be plenty of fuel aboard still on those lead cars at the moment.
Yeah, you know, when you make a pit stop here under green flag conditions, particularly with a pit lane speed limit, I'm sure it's 60 miles an hour, you're going to lose a lap under green. So if you can make a stop under yellow here like they're doing now, you can get out there, and you know, that's 20 less laps that he will be, 20 more laps he'll be able to run than the other guys. Of course, under full race conditions, you can probably bring that down by half perhaps, but 10 extra laps, that's a long way around this racetrack, and if he can go 10 more laps and there's a yellow during that sequence of pit stops, that can pay off. Very good news indeed for these guys making pit stops now.
Max Papis makes a second stop then, so repeats that same strategy and rejoins at the back of the field. But we are getting ready now. You can see the cars beginning to bunch up and to get ready for the restart. It'll be on to lap number 22 that Maurizio Gugelmin will lead the cars, and we're now down to 25 cars. We started with 27, but we lost the car of Juan Fangio after the oil fire, and we've lost the car of Paul Tracy in more dramatic fashion when he hit the wall extremely hard indeed. Right then, Maurizio Gugelmin gets on with the program now as he accelerates through turns 3 and 4, builds up the speed once again and leads this field onto the green flag. Gugelmin leads from Jimmy Vassar in second place, but watch the battle for third, because Michel Jourdain in the green car is moving to the outside of Brian Herter in the black and white car and just blasts past him. That was a great restart from the young Mexican. Really did a great job there. He timed it to perfection, didn't pass Herter before the line, but he had the momentum and he was able to take that pass and to go down into the first corner. And in fact, look at this, Michael Andretti also going past Brian Herter. Now it seems a bit stranger. It looks as though Herter hasn't been able to get fully up to speed already.
No, I think he probably just lifted off. There's no point in pushing things too hard too early. When he saw Jourdain go past him, he didn't want that to upset the aerodynamic balance of his car. He probably lifted just from the throttle just for a fraction, and that enabled Michael Andretti to get a run off that corner and down the back straightaway.
So now the top 4 cars are pretty close. Gugelmin, Vassar, Jourdain, Andretti as they flash past us, and then behind Andretti, Herter. Mark Blundell is next up behind Brian Herter, and hopefully Herter won't have lost too much time in that. Just that, as Jeremy said, just that little easing off the throttle can be enough to lose you 2 places on a track like this. So far we haven't seen the sort of side-by-side running that we may expect to see on a track like this. The driver's saying the groove is narrower here than it is at Michigan, for example, where we've seen them run side-by-side many times in the past. Having said that, yesterday we witnessed the most incredible Indy Lights race, where they weren't running just 2 abreast, they were running 3 abreast and even 4 abreast at some points around the track. There's Andretti going past Michel Jourdain, so Andretti now takes over 3rd position. And this is interesting because this is exactly what he did at Michigan earlier on this year, Jeremy, when he was flying until he had a transmission problem.
Yeah, phenomenal drive that was by Michael Andretti. He's not been fast all weekend in ultimate terms. There is Greg Moore to the inside of Scott Pruitt. That is the battle for 7th position, and Greg Moore makes that pass. You know, Moore, he's always very conservative at the beginning of these 500-mile races. He's only a young driver. He's just 22 years of age. He has a very mature head on his shoulders. And he's always quite happy to fall back 3 or 4 places even at the start. If other people want to be pushy, that's no problem with Greg Moore. And then once they get back up to green, he just takes his time and moves up if the car is capable, and if he can run it smoothly and easily and comfortably. That's what he's doing right now.
And he's now coming up towards the back of Mark Blundell's car. So Greg Moore, the Canadian, who's had 2 wins, up behind Mark Blundell, the Englishman, who's also had 2 wins this year. And in fact, Moore seemed to have a very quick run off turns 1 and 2. Looks as though Moore is lining Blundell up for a pass, drops back a bit as they come up towards turns 3 and 4. Let's just watch the exit out of turn 4, though, to see whether Greg Moore picks up the toe and is able to go through the curved D section here on the front stretch down towards turn 1, and he's looking for the inside, but decides against it. Early stages still in this race. It may not be the time to take any sort of risk, but he's got that inside line now, and that could help him get the lead, or get this position as they come up towards turn number 3. He goes for the inside line again. Blundell on the outer line, but Blundell is able to get ahead into the corner, and Blundell still holds on to 6th place. Greg Moore is still in 7th position. Behind them, Andre Ribeiro has also got past Scott Pruitt.
Yeah, Ribeiro moving up quickly. There he is in the bottom of the screen there, catching up towards Greg Moore there in the players' car. A little bit farther back down the field, Ari Luyendijk will keep you posted on how he's doing. He's now up to 18th position in car number 4. There is Jimmy Vasser in the foreground, going through there in 2nd place, and at the top of the screen you just saw a flash of him coming out of turn 2 with Ari Luyendijk.
Now, some of the slower cars already being lapped by the front runners here. You saw them go through quite safely at that point. Guterman is still our race leader. 2nd for Vasser, 3rd for Andretti, then 4th place for Michel Jourdain Jr. But look at Greg Moore once again, getting down the inside of Mark Blundell into turn 1, and this time he goes through. Blundell not making too big an issue of it in these early stages of the race. Greg Moore, therefore, in the Forsyth Racing machine, gets past the Pac West car. In fact, Andre Ribeiro with the yellow-fronted car, he also is going past Mark Blundell. So Blundell, again, perhaps he had to just feather the throttle a little bit down at turn 1 to give Greg Moore the space. That cost him a few miles per hour, and that has allowed Andre Ribeiro to also take a position. So we're seeing a few little changes here, and now, in fact, you're watching Brian Herter in the black and white shell car closing up again in the battle for 4th place with Michel Jourdain Jr. We saw him blast past on the restart, but now that Herter's got up to speed, he's feeling confident that the tyres are up to temperature. He's now beginning to close up again.
And again, you know, it is hot out there. We might be in an air-conditioned booth here as we overlook turn 4, but it's awfully hot outside, and nobody wants to make sure that well, they all want to make sure they don't use up their tyres too soon. There they are, 3 abreast through the tri-oval there. Brian Herter, the inside of Michel Jourdain, sweeps through there into turn 1. Good move by Jourdain there, don't press the issue. Let Herter go at this stage.
So that's 4th place now for Brian Herter, 5th for Jourdain, 6th position for Greg Moore. But watch Greg Moore is being lined up by Andre Ribeiro. Ribeiro goes to the inside, and Andre Ribeiro, who's had such a troubled practice time here at this speedway, but he's a former winner of a 500-mile race at Michigan and likes these kind of races, and the team, Tasman Motorsports, really seems to be able to set their cars up for these kind of races. They have got Andre Ribeiro flying now, and he's moved up a position. Remember, he was leading earlier this year at the US 500 at Michigan when he suffered a transmission failure, a gearbox problem, which many of the cars suffered, and we were right on board with him when he had that problem. Look at him now, look, lining up Michel Jourdain already, and he's not hanging about in trying to get up with the race leaders. Ribeiro obviously charging. He must be very happy with the way the car's performing to be pushing this hard so early. Yeah,
he's always very comfortable on these super speedways. He's led just about all the races he's driven in on these sort of tracks, actually. He won one of them, of course, at Michigan and last year, and he knows he's got a good car to win this race. It's incredible. He had 3 engine failures, or 3 problems, actually 4, because there was another one this morning. He had a fuel pump problem this morning on that car. But it's the remarkable thing is, in 3 previous years, he'd had not a single unscheduled engine change on a race weekend. The first one ever for that Tasman team was last weekend. They're going past some slower cars. That's Hiro. It's Max Papis and Hiro Matsushita there going past, and Walter Salas there to the inside as Vasser sweeps around the outside.
Yeah, these two are the leaders, remember. Guterman in the red and white car up front, Jimmy Vasser in the target car in 2nd place. We go back to the man in 3rd place. That's Michael Andretti. He's now fighting his way past those slower cars as Mauricio Guterman just finding his way past. It looked like Parker Johnson. He was just passing as they go up through turns 3 and 4. Indeed, it is Parker Johnson being lapped at this early stage in the race, and Michael Andretti is allowed to get alongside Jimmy Vasser, so we've got a change here for 2nd place possibly. You're on board, Jimmy Vasser. Look at the black car on the inside. Michael Andretti's got up into 2nd position. He took advantage there a little bit that Vasser got slightly slowed by Parker Johnson coming through turns 3 and 4, and Michael Andretti was ready to pounce, so he has gone into 2nd place.
Amazing that Parker Johnson should be going a lap down so early. He's got the same equipment exactly as Jimmy Vasser. But you know, I heard a hint yesterday that Parker might be considering retirement. We've heard that Dario Franchitti may well be taking over that Team Cool Green night for next year. And Parker, he's not comfortable on these super speedways. He knows that. And he's seen those accidents early on this weekend. He is